Share.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. I am Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com. I'm joined once again by my friend, Mr. Jonathan M. Carney, who's kind of out of view there, or maybe that's just my screen. And we are welcoming on a friend of ours, our guest for the week, Mr. Oliver Nivaud from United Cigars. Let's get united with Oliver Nivaud. Oliver, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I think this is your first appearance on this show. We're happy to have you in United fashion. I am smoking an Atabey Spiritus, one of my favorites. I see you're smoking a United cigar over there. Quite the lineup you guys have over there, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. But John, also hello. You got the Canadian hat on again, which is actually really cool because Oliver's, getting United, the American flag, the very patriotic theme going on. And then here's John Carney, who practically is from Canada, because he's from deep up in Maine, rocking the Canadian hat again.
Who does bleed red, white, and blue, though?
The only reason I'm wearing the Canadian outfit tonight is because he's got the American flag backdrop behind him, and there wasn't a whole lot I could do. The Canadian flag is right up front and center. So this is the battle of North America here. It's Canada versus USA, and we're going to be united together.
Are you going to bust out the O Canada tonight on the show, or?
It's on the brim of my hat, but
is it?
I'm smoking. Yeah, it's got the Canadian national anthem on. It's a badass hat.
Oh, that's cool.
And I also have I'll break it out some other show, but I have a Captain Canada shirt as well. Tonight I'm wearing Captain America though.
All right, well, there you go. That makes sense. That is appropriate.
So I'm smoking the 1994 Roomba tonight.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've been on
the Roomba.
I've been on a full bodied kick the last couple days by accident. So I've got my butt kicked a little bit more than I wanted. So I finally found something that wasn't strong, and I'm going with a 1994 Roomba, and I'm drinking a chocolate latte.
A chocolate latte.
How bourgeois of you.
Did you make that yourself, John?
I did. I have my Nespresso here. Actually, I'm pretty proud of it. If you check these layers out, look, we've got the crema on top, some coffee in the middle, some chocolate on the bottom here. It's a really nice layered drink. That was entirely on accident as well. But Oliver, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you.
Love being on. Two of my favorite people.
Oh, well, thank you. That's really nice of you to say. And John.
On the Smokin Tabacco Show.
We're really excited to have you here. We've had this. You are pretty much kicking off the insane 6 weeks that we have planned for the Smokin Tabacco Show. Lots of guests coming on, lots of extra episodes, and we are starting it all off with Oliver tonight. This is going to be a fun episode. It's going to be a good episode. There's a lot of ground to cover. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's a tough show to do a week after you just had Leo from Nova. Big fan here. She's a sweetheart. She's great. She works hard, and so it's a tough show to follow. But happy to be here.
What are you sipping on right now? Havana Club.
Havana Club. That's the 15-year. Now, why is that not in focus? Yeah, 15-year. But I'm down. Look, little celebration. I'm down to the end, so that'll be finished for the night.
There you go.
But
it's always bittersweet. I'm into the bourbon thing. I collect the bourbon. John's really into wine, but especially with the bourbon, you get some really rare bottles, stuff that you spend some time hunting down. You get, and then you finally open it and you drink it. And then you get to the end, and it's almost bittersweet. Like, you've enjoyed it. It was a good bottle.
Right.
But then it's over, and it's gone.
Right. And there are times that you go back to the cabinet, you grab the bottle, and you're like, who's been drinking out of this?
Yeah,
because you don't remember drinking that far down. So it's unfortunate sometimes, yeah.
I went to a vegetarian restaurant here in Miami last night. So I went with a lady friend of mine. And she and I went to Planta on South Beach, Miami. And strange, by the way, Oliver, this is the longest I've been in Miami now for about 8 years. I've been down here for about 2 weeks, and I got another week and a half left. But Miami Beach during this time of the year is usually crazy with the holidays.
Right.
I know it was a Tuesday last night, but it was just dead. so strange. The restaurant was pretty hopping. You know, it was a good little crowd, but I mean, it wasn't like there was anybody waiting to get in. But anyway, we went to this vegetarian restaurant, and man, was it crazy. I've never seen food transformed the way that I had food transformed last night in front of me. It was crazy. I mean, they had dishes. We had a steak tartare dish that was made with beets, and avocado.
Oh.
It was ridiculous. And going in there as a hardcore carnivore, I had low expectations. So freaking good. Charcoal infused ice cream. The reason I bring this up is we had a bourbon drink. That was a bourbon sour, and instead of egg whites, they made this thing called an aquafab or whatever. And it tasted just like egg whites, and it would look like a sour, like you would actually make. And it was incredible. It was a charcoal bourbon sour, vegan. So anyway, if anybody has a chance and says all I do is eat meat, I did do vegan last night. I loved it. It's something I'll go back and do. But as soon as I got back to the house, I had a steak. So
when it's done right, it can be edible. It's actually quite good. Plants. And for our non-Spanish speaking audience, planta is plant in Spanish.
Mm-hmm. So you always learn something.
That's why I'm here. I just like to share.
And those curious, dentista is Spanish for dentist.
So Oliver can be the translator on the show.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's about my extent.
So no, we have Oliver with us, and so since he's here, we're gonna ask him some questions, as we do. We usually
the hot seat.
Put you in the hot seat. We pepper you with questions. We ask you the stuff that people want to know. First of all, the first question. Let's talk about you. So, before getting into United, how did you get into the industry? As I understand, and I don't know if this is true, and you can completely debunk this. I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told, and maybe this wasn't the beginning of your cigar career, but you had a hand in opening the world famous Casa Fuente in Las Vegas.
I worked for a company out in Vegas. So I started my cigar venture back in, I was 98. 98, I started working for a company called Fryboy Tobacco, Malecon Tobacco. I moved out to Las Vegas in 97, and I was in marketing, computer graphics, really just freelancing while I was there. And because moving from Boston, Massachusetts just in general, very expensive, to Las Vegas, very inexpensive. Myself and two friends, we were able to rent a house for $900 a month. 3-bedroom, I don't know how many 1,500 square feet. So, I mean, nice spot, smaller backyard. But at that price, I mean, $300 a month, we split it. I didn't have to do all that much work. So I started just a small marketing company, so to speak, and just started doing freelance graphics. And because I was a cigar smoker, because I had some free time, I wanted to work for a company that I could get a discount. So I actually looked these guys up in the phone book, started working in one of their stores, and that turned into a 14-year career with them, and got into manufacturing, sales. We had, I don't know, upwards of 10 plus cigarette hostess programs, 100 plus, 200 wholesale accounts, upwards of 12 retail locations. And then we started going into the manufacturing side. And then after a few years, in 2004, I believe, we opened up Casa Fuente. So I was on the back end. I was in the corporate office. So I was handling a lot of the ashtrays, glassware, some of the training manuals, things like that. And we opened up Casa Fuente. Then from there, we opened up Rum Bar. We opened up, helped them with tacos and tequila at the Luxor. So it was a long career with them, but kind of deviated away from the cigar business a little bit when we started getting more into hospitality. I was over at Rum Bar at the Mirage, and we had just a cabinet, but that was more of a mixology program. So that's why I can appreciate that cocktail you got there, John.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's funny to watch John have something that's not wine. I know his MO is wine. And by the way, quick pause, Oliver, I don't know if you're a wine guy, but John, our Gary V Wine Club shipment for the month has been shipped out, I believe.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, so we will be getting that.
So we'll have that for next week, which will be great. Yeah, we can get on that. I talked him into doing this wine membership because I was like, oh, it'd be great. We could sit and enjoy the same wines together and kind of go through the tasting notes that they give you and see if we get the same taste notes. 3 bottles a month for like $60. It's always worth it. So I thought it was kind of a cool thing. But yeah, it's interesting, Oliver. So you worked with, obviously I'm very intimate and familiar with the company that you worked for in the past when you were in Vegas and started your career in this. And they really did transition to really the hospitality business, and the cigar business kind of took a little bit of a backseat in terms of those experiences. But they were a big deal because that family also had their roots started in New York City, I believe. Correct? Didn't they have a business in Grand Central Terminal?
Yeah. So it didn't necessarily start there. The manager of the Caesars location before. So Caesars we had a store called Coliseum Cigars. That was in the old section of the Forum shops. Then Caesars Palace expanded. They had the newer retail section, that huge mall that if you've been to Vegas and you've been to Caesars Palace there, you've seen an entire transformation rather.
Massive.
And that's where Casa Fuente was open, right next to the escalator that went into a whole nother retail section. So we had that location there. The manager from that location ended up moving to New York and running that store. But that was after, gosh, I think Fryboy maybe started in tobacco in 95, 96. You'd have to ask them to be sure. And that New York store must have opened in late 1990s, and that was there for a couple of years, right in Grand Central Station. So they had already started their cigar business. I was already a part of it. They were only a couple of years old when I started, but one of their locations that lasted for a couple of years. And I'm not too sure what happened.
Well, in my opinion, it was really a cigar boom type store. It was obviously an opportunity to do something a little higher end, and that the cigar boom was going on, really coming to kind of an end at the time. But those big brands, those relationships they had in Vegas, would naturally translate to that. So it was probably just ran its course, and when you finally started that, New York was a cigar mecca. So it was definitely an interesting area and people coming and going. But so you were born and raised in the New England area.
I was born in Quincy, Massachusetts, but we were here for a couple of years, and we moved quite a bit. My father was in the hotel business, so we went from being born here. Maybe a year or two later, went to Chicago. Then Chicago, went to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Then we went to London, went to France, back to Milwaukee, New York City, back to Boston, and then as an adult, I moved out to Las Vegas in '97. So we moved around quite a bit.
It's interesting. You mentioned you moved around. Your father was in the hospitality business. You moved to Las Vegas, which is a hospitality town.
Right.
I think that's really all they have really for state income is their tourism and their hospitality and their gambling income. So you've definitely had an interesting story, an interesting past, and then you go into the cigar industry, and you've become the face of this brand, so to speak, or this organization of United Cigar. When did you join on with United?
Yeah, so when I moved out to Vegas, like I said, '97, and then I was in Utah for a year with a friend there. I opened up a restaurant. It was his restaurant. I was just doing the opening. Then after a year, moved to California to kind of figure out if we were going to stay on the West Coast or move to the East Coast. And with my background, I got into more strictly hospitality. I was director of food and beverage at the Hilton in downtown Boston. And after a couple of years in that business, I missed the cigar business. And the opportunity came up because I ran into Paul Giacalone, who was with One Off Cigars, and he also had Gloucester Street Cigar back in the 90s, 80s, 90s, and I ran into him at one of his events at Stanza de Cigar in the North End, and we just got to talking. So he said, "Well, why don't you come up and have a cigar with me? I'm going up to New Hampshire to two guys, and listen to the Cigar Authority. We'll have a smoke and." So we went up there, and I think after the second or third time that I went up there, I started talking to Dave, and I think he liked my story. We hit it off, and he let me know that there was a small little company called United Cigars that had a few brands that they were looking to distribute and get the word out across the country, and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And just seeing that opportunity of having brands that weren't established nationally. There were a couple brands, obviously, with Atabey, Byron being attached to that, and those we distribute for Nelson Alfonso, but that's in the portfolio. That had already been launched in California, then it was in Texas, but that distribution went over to United in 2012, and there was just small growth. There was really no boots. There weren't any boots on the ground at all. There was nobody on the phone. There was nobody reaching out to customers. So it was really once a year at the trade show, they would speak to retailers. So he wanted to expand that. And really, when I sat down and looked at the portfolio, I was taken aback. I said, well, I'm not familiar with these brands. And even though I came from Vegas, where we were selling a Portofino for $20 on the Cigarette Hostess cigar trays, which is robbery, I was taken aback with the elevated price of these cigars. I said, you're going up against some heavy hitters with that price. I've never heard of it. Let me try one and we'll see. He's like, oh, well, I got one here. Sit down, we'll smoke it. So I smoked the Atabey, and when I first smoked the Atabey, within a couple puffs, I almost knew what I wanted to do and what the potential could be. So after a day or two of kind of looking at what the job would mean, we touched base again, and I said I was 100% on board. That was just a different experience for me. So I wanted the challenge, I wanted the opportunity, and after that, it was just hitting the ground and knocking on doors.
Yeah, I think that the Atabey and Byron and even Bandolero, the three brands you carry from Selected Tobacco, Nelson Alfonso's company, definitely are, for those who know about them. I mean, I don't know many people who have been disappointed by them, but I think it is also interesting to shine some light on the other brands that you do distribute. One in particular that I know is kind of a hidden gem, and everyone who has it always is just so ecstatic about it, and that's the La Gianna line. The La Gianna Bambinos, I know, is some of the most popular. That you probably, I think those are the most you sell in the La Gianna line, if I'm not mistaken. And those are great. I know a lot of people who've had them. I know people from outside the New England area who wouldn't know Two Guys Smoke Shop to go in there, who have found these at United retailers and who have been like, oh my God, these cigars are great. You also have the United line.
Right.
Good price point, good quality, very good cigars.
Yeah, so La Gianna, when you look at it, that's a brand that's been around for over 25 years, but it was more of a brand sold through just a couple of retailers on the East Coast, and that's made by Davidoff. So you have a product that is just extremely well constructed. It's a Honduran blend. It's very smooth, creamy. It doesn't have that, and I hate even saying that typical Honduran bite, but there's a stigma with Honduran tobacco that a lot of people say, oh, it's grassy, it's hay. I don't like Hondurans, but that's changed over the years. That used to be the case with Nicaraguans. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, I don't like Nicaraguans. They're gritty. They're too harsh. But over time,
because the tobacco used to suck. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, oh, I didn't like Hondurans. Yeah, because the tobacco was bad, except like Camacho, right?
Right.
Right. And Honduras, so it just changed. I was the same way 15 years 100%. Ago, man. Honduran tobacco was gross.
Right. So when I say La Gianna's Honduran, I have a lot of people say, oh, I don't like Hondurans. I said, that's great. I don't either. But try this one.
Yeah.
Because we have this fixed idea of what Honduran tobacco is, but Honduran tobacco is fantastic. And in the La Gianna, the natural is very smooth, creamy. That's our mild to medium, and it is a great price point. All the sizes, we have 6 different sizes. They're under $10. The Maduro is just another one that very chocolatey, hint of like a raisin sweetness, but just a good solid medium. And then when you go into the United portfolio, there we have 3 classic sizes. We have a box press Robusto, Toro, and Churchill. But then we have a very unique size called the pencil, which is almost the size, basically the size of a pencil, 6x28, and it's just a great in between cigar when you don't have time to sit down with a smoke, and you need a little little fix in between shifts or in between meetings, and it's a long cigarillo, so it's a fantastic cigar. So the United portfolio is another one that's just a great price point.
Is it a number 2 pencil? Is that officially authentic?
Number 2, use it on your SATs.
Yeah, no, I remember first being introduced to the United catalog, and just being really impressed by what was in there, the quality, even some of the price points. It's like what you get. It's impressive, and there's some good cigars there. And it seems you guys have done really well. And I know I've had conversations with you, one-on-one, and even a lot of the cigar clubs out there are starting to carry a lot of your stuff. And I've seen Uniteds, I've seen La Giannas, Atabeys, into like Luxury Cigar Club, and some of those mail order clubs, the monthly clubs.
Right.
I've seen some of those start to filter into those. So those are really starting to get around the country a little bit more now.
Yeah, I think when I started, it was for me, it was a little confusing on how do I extend this portfolio to everyone, showcase it without confusing them, without just throwing everything out on the table. And when I started with social media, I would really Instagram when I would start with one and then go through the portfolio. By the time I got to the end, because we have right now 15 different brands, different lines. So by the time I got to the end, people are forgetting about the front. So after about maybe not even a month, I think I just decided, I said, you know what? We have a luxury brand that is very unique in the market, because that segment of the market is very small, very dedicated customer for those lines that are out there. But I'm going to try to wedge myself in and just focus on Atabey. So when I started really on social media, there was no reposting of anything, because there was nothing out there. So I just started building content and putting it out there and focusing on one brand. And Atabey is kind of it's not an overly well known brand. There are still a lot of people out there that haven't smoked it or aren't familiar with it, or have different opinions about it. But that was the brand that I wanted to start with, and then from there I just kind of started filtering all the other brands, kind of funneling all the other brands up through through Atabey. Sorry.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
I don't know. I just I had something loaded and ready to go,
Yeah.
and then I don't know why I just lost it.
You're looking in the Carney's eyes and you got lost.
Oh, Canada!
It's so they're so dreamy. I mean, look at that face. I just want to get inside that hoodie and snuggle with them. So as you continue to go through the United catalog, you have some other interesting cigars, such as the Garofalo, which is actually made by Nick Perdomo. Fantastic.
Phenomenal,
cigar. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
And you have, I want to say you have a Connecticut shade, a Maduro, a sun-grown, and you have how many sizes in that?
Six as well, or 5 sizes in the Garofalo, and then we have the Maduro, the Connecticut, and the sun-grown,
which I think are
the sun-grown's my favorite personally. I really enjoy the sun-grown, and I think it's the one I've smoked regularly is the sun-grown, the Torpedo. Is the one that I've had several times.
That's what I was going to say. The sun-grown Torpedo is a good one.
And it is there's always cigars in different lines for me. There's always a lot of similarities in flavor profile, but there's always one size and shape. It very rarely is it a Torpedo in a line. That really is the one that kicks it off. And for me in that line, that Garofalo sun-grown Torpedo, I don't know what that size is actually called. It may be called the Torpedo. But
it is a Torpedo. Yeah.
It is a Torpedo. Yeah, but that one's just awesome. I mean, that's such a good smoke.
Yeah, I love the sun-grown line. I lean a lot towards the Maduro line in that. I think it's very, very smooth, well constructed, just well balanced, and it's coming out of the Perdomo factory. So when you're when you're talking about quality in the industry, that's one of the names that comes up continuously as a respected line that's just made well.
Absolutely. I mean, I would say the Perdomos are very undisputed for their quality. Their pricing is aggressive. The quality you get is almost unrivaled. You have something like that in your line to play with. I mean, that's a huge advantage.
I think the Perdomo Firecracker was just rated by Cigar Coop. That was that was a limited release that came out this year. Cigar Coop just gave that maybe a 92. So we were very happy with that.
Yeah, no, that's good. And actually, I was going to go right into the Firecracker. And since you bring that up, that's another special cigar that you guys have under the United catalog. So
yes.
there is a Firecracker cigar that you guys always have, and then there's your limited production Firecrackers that usually come out as a single batch release. They come out once a year. This year, you had released a Perdomo Firecracker, an HVC Black Friday Firecracker, the Steve Saka, it was a Micarita Firecracker that just came out a few weeks ago.
The Tricky Tracker, yeah.
Or Tricky Tracker, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are some interesting cigars. Now, I know, and I kind of want to clear the air here. I know a lot of people like to say that it's a two guys store release, but it's not. It's a United release. That's a United partnership program cigar that's released every year.
On the limited releases.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking. Yeah, so the Firecracker was started really back in 2006, 7, and then that was the United Firecracker. That was a store release for Dave at Two Guys because he wanted that that wick, that fuse on the end, and nobody wanted to do it. Finally, Pepin agreed to it. They made it, and then there was a collaboration in 2010, and then from there it just kind of propelled even further. We did a phenomenal, which I still have a few because that was right when I started. I bought a couple of the LFD Firecrackers, which I thought were fantastic. So every year there's a new limited release that comes out. So we collaborate with another manufacturer, and that limited release will come out usually towards the middle end of June, so that it gets to retailers by the 4th of July. So where before it did start as kind of a store exclusive for Two Guys, it branched off into the United portfolio where it was available to retailers that carry the regular production of Firecracker.
And it's always a hit. I would say almost every time they go on sale, they sell out real fast. Real popular. I know I've gotten the last couple releases. I think the release you guys did with Christoph last year, the Pissed Off Christoph Firecracker.
Christoph, yeah.
That was a good one.
The United retail partners of yours are able to carry the Perdomo Firecracker. They were able to carry that as well.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh,
so
excellent.
if they carry the United Firecracker throughout the year, for every certain amount of United Firecracker boxes that they go through, then they're eligible for the limited release Firecrackers that come out.
Great.
So yeah, so we had quite a few retailers that were able to get the limited releases, and we have the limited release that comes out and launches every year, but then we reintroduce if the manufacturer is willing to do it again and it was successful, they were happy, we reintroduce an older Firecracker. So the partnership with Saka, it worked well. We relaunched the Micarita last year, but then he tweaked the blend a little bit, started a Tricky Tracker line for himself, and then that was the Micarita Tricky Tracker that we launched this year in December, or relaunched, reintroduced this year.
I think I haven't.
One thing I'll bring up that I think is unique is I obviously travel the country the same way you do, and we have retailers that watch this show, and for those of you that don't carry these brands for whatever reason it is, I think sometimes I hear people say, oh well, this is a cigar company that was started through a retailer X, Y, and Z, and the way I look at this, to be honest, is I'm fortunate I work for a company that's really not cutting off our retailers' nose to spite our face. I had a conversation today with a retailer And I had one different conversation last week with someone. I was like, hey, when we get off this phone, I go, I want you to go through your list of people that you do business with. I go and ask them, one, why they discount on their websites that they own. The number one cigar company in the world owns your biggest competitor. The number 2 cigar company in the world owns your second biggest competitor. The number 3 cigar company in the world gives 35-40% discounts off to those number 1 and 2 retailers that I just told you that are already the number 1 and 2 cigar companies. So the way I've always looked at it, and I speak very highly of your brand specifically. People would say, "Oh, it's because you have a relationship." No, it's because it's actually a reputable thing. What better person to identify or group to identify that someone that actually came from a brick and mortar retail shop that actually has the best interest of a brick and mortar retailer in mind. So I would say to people, and I would highly encourage that if that's an objection to you, to relook at how you do business, because most of those brands that you probably have in your humidor are actually out there to negatively impact your business, whether you think so or not, especially in a long-term venture. So I've always thought that's a great thing about the brand, the United brand, and a great thing about how it was started was it's always had the brick and mortar retailer in mind, and it's always been the most important thing. Like, I don't see Byron's and Atabeys discounted on websites. I don't see United Cigars discounted on a bunch of websites. If they are on there discounted, they're not available. It's just somebody messing around. But I think that's something great that what you've done, and I think that's great what you've carried. You continue to carry that on, and that, in my opinion, for anybody watching, should be a positive. Is why you should be carrying this and getting behind it, because that's unique in this business to have it that way. And I said that there's very few people that are out there in this business that are really truly care about what your individual business is doing. And I would certainly say you guys are one of them.
Wow. Yeah. No. Thank you very much for that, because it makes for a very long road, not a smooth road. You gotta put that in four-wheel drive to get up some of these roads that I've tried, because that exact conversation happens with a lot of retailers that I speak with, and it's not necessarily that it started with a retailer, but it's also, I've never heard of this brand, or nobody's asking for this brand, or I one guy asking for it, but it's not enough people asking for this brand that it's going to sell. So the confidence in some retailers isn't necessarily there behind the brand. So it's building that trust and just letting them see me over time that we slowly get into the door. But I can absolutely say that the retailers that we've started with, they start supporting the brand, getting behind it because of those exact reasons, that it's not discounted online. Mm-hmm. It's not a brand that, United as a company, we're not trying to grow overnight. We want this to be a steady growth to build a proper foundation so that we can support the retailer properly and build the company properly without making huge sales. And it's happened with a few companies. You make one large sale because you want to get somewhere, and then next thing you know, a month later, it might not be moving with that retailer, that catalog company, that online company, and next thing you know, it's heavily discounted, and then it's out there, and it ruins the integrity of the brand.
Mm-hmm. The one of the things that I noticed about you guys is, even though you have such a nice portfolio, like I said, we've talked about, we have the Atabey, Byron, Bandolero line, the Firecrackers we've touched on, the Garofalos, the La Giannas, United. You guys got Flor de la Reine in your portfolio. Yeah. You guys have Classic Cigars, which is another one.
Which Classic, is a beautiful bundle.
Yeah, that's a bundle cigar.
Yeah,
isn't
so
it?
Yes, I think the Corona starts retail at $1 a piece. So they're well priced for a bundle cigar that smokes like a long filler, premium cigar.
And that's pretty impressive. So you have some pretty top shelf high end brands there, and then you have something that's budget friendly that anyone can get in on. So you really have quite the and then everything in between. You have limited releases. You're really well put together in your catalog. You kind of have a little bit of everything, and you seem to really put that out there and make that available pretty well. So I would say, and hats off to you. I think you do a really good job at that. Thank you. Kind of like the face of United, I would say. You're kind of taking that all on your own, but you do a really good job. I've seen the stuff you do. I've known you for a while now. I see stuff you do on social media. I've seen the way the brands perform.
We do great hats.
Yeah, I have my
which
United
I
hat
saw
on
you
tonight.
wearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
With our friend Adrian of Cigars and Guns.
Yeah. Shout out.
Another social media giant, and I mean, you could pair a few things better, but there aren't too many. When you pair Cigars and Guns, that's a good afternoon.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun afternoon.
Yeah.
Going down and
yeah.
just
So we're
firing.
little by little. Got my little tracksuit. We'll have to get those into production.
That's like your signature. You seem to wear that a lot when you make appearances on shows. That's like your official uniform, the United tracksuit.
Yeah. I mean, it's comfortable. It's got the 3 stripes. We love stripes. So it's kind of just a thing that I'll put on.
So before we, I want to get into a whole nother area specifically on a part of your line. But before we do that, I want to go into our news segment really quick. Our news segment is brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. If you're not an ambassador, become an ambassador today. Head over to McAuliffeCigars.com and sign up for the ambassador program. So, not really a crazy week. Excuse me, as I pull up my notes here. First of all, I think this is fairly appropriate, and I'm going to let my co-host kind of go off on this, but I'm going to read the headline, and I'm going to let him take over, because this is right up his alley. Lfd Dominicana Cigars announces limited edition Lito Gomez mustache, and you're on. No, I heard about this. I talked to John about this. This is going to be in support of the Movember charity.
Nice.
Yeah. So coming up next Wednesday, December 16th, about 3 weeks ago, Lito Daniel Gomez, Lito Jr., and his mother Inez and I sat down and we wanted to work on a project that was just kind of the three of us, and really spearheaded by her son, because he has some things he's passionate about. Obviously, we're in challenging times, and men's health and men's mental health is something that I think gets neglected, and we don't spend a lot of time thinking about that in these times. And mental health in general is very challenging. But the Movember movement's a really great thing. It's the one where everybody grows their beards out, no shave November, but they do things year round, and you can participate in that. So that's something that's near and dear to Lito's heart, Jr. And so we wanted to get a charity event going. So on December 16th, we're going to be doing a live in-person charity event here in Miami at the Empire Cigar Lounge. And we'll also be doing essentially an online cigar and fundraising telethon, per se, minus the telephones, that will be going live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Online, we'll be doing a live broadcast for that, so we invite anybody to jump on over to Lfd Dominicanas Facebook page, where we'll be going live with that, and Empire Cigar Lounge will be doing a fun charity event. We have our friends at Meat and Bone; they're going to be catering the event. We have co-opted with our friends at the Experience Brokers out of Atlanta. That's the experiencebrokers.com. Great group of luxury lifestyle experienced brokers, per se. I've done some great events with them in the past and have a great relationship with them. So they're essentially our partners for this, coordinating the event we're doing. And we'll be launching the Lito Gomez mustache. It's a 6.5 by 60 Dominican Puro wrapper, binder, and filler, all from our farm. The LG line hasn't been out since 2015. So this will be the essentially a little teaser of our new LG blend. And that will have a Maduro mustache on it in honor of the Movember movement. And that will be releasing that evening. And a portion of the proceeds from that cigar will go to the Movember movement. And we'll be posting what we raise online when that's over. But starting at 10 to 16, people can buy that. We can ship to you. If you're in Miami, we welcome you to come to the event. I said we've got food from Meat and Bone. We're going to have live music. We have the Experience Brokers brokering the party all night. And we have Lfd Dominicana, and it will be featuring Lito Daniel Gomez, his mother Inez Lorenzo Gomez, and myself. So it'll be the three of us. Lito Senior may show up. We're not sure yet. He's not confirmed yet. But the highlight will be Lito, Inez, and myself. And people ask quite regularly, hey, I want to see Inez out at an event. She doesn't traditionally travel, and she's not traditionally at a lot of events. So this will be one of her very rare appearances, and she'll be there live and in person. So if you're in Miami and you want to meet the second half of this company, come and join us. In the future, will be there with us too. So it should be a great time. But November 16th for a great cause.
You also have
16th.
Elegance and grace with that lady. Well, I mean, an iron fist, but elegance and grace.
And there's also you had shared out a link earlier, John, on social media, where people can go on and donate, I believe.
Yeah, if you jump on any of our social media right now, there's tiny URLs. You can go to the Experience Brokers. You can go to I Am Jameson on Instagram. That's our friend from the Experience Brokers. Jameson's got the link on there. I've also posted the QR code on my personal Facebook page, LFD's Facebook page. All you got to do is scan that QR code with your phone, or just go to the link and click it. You can go right to our Movember Mo Space, they call it, and you can donate there and you can put your name right up there. If you want to be anonymous, you can be anonymous. If not, put it on there, and we'll make sure people realize and understand that you support what we're doing, and we certainly appreciate that. So. We don't necessarily have a goal. We're just going to try to raise as much money as we can and see what happens. And we'd like to try to make this an annual type event, and we'll always continue to do something special. But I said this is something that we came up with a few weeks back, and we put it together relatively quickly. But uniquely enough, we're going to have a lot of great stuff there, and it's going to be a great time. And they said we'll be broadcasting live so everyone can participate across the country and across the world if they're interested in joining us.
That's phenomenal.
We're excited to see that. There's a Smokin Tabacco Show episode, I believe, that night. So John actually won't be on the show. He might make an appearance with us, but he probably won't be on that show because he'll be, at this event, which is a great event. So I do wish you the best of luck at that event too. I'll let you have the night off. Just kidding, of course.
I think we discussed him coming on to the show. We're gonna do a special. I think we're gonna do a special impromptu soap review. The last time I was with the Experience Brokers in Atlanta, it turned out to be quite the time. So I think we're going to go Experience Brokers Round 2 soap review.
I forgot all about that, actually. I'm Jesus, stupid me. We did talk about it because I said to you, I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, can we get another really what was the word I used? But
so Oliver, I don't know how often you see the show, but in what was it, like July or August? I was in Atlanta for Atlanta Cigar Week. We had a great time there. It was awesome. And one of the nights
this was great.
We went to a nightclub in Atlanta, and I'd say most of the state of Florida is kind of like the Wild West with this COVID thing. However you feel about it or not, I've been very publicly out and around. I'm careful. I do my COVID test, wear my mask and stuff. But this night was not so careful. We were at a nightclub, and they had these two small Chinese bathroom attendants, a man and a woman. And we did a live soap review in the bathroom. And we don't have a soap review tonight, but occasionally I do soap reviews. And we did one live from the bathroom. The bathroom attendants were all in on it. The woman actually came from the women's restroom and came in and participated in the soap review. She put a cigarette in my mouth, lit the cigarette while I was washing my hands. They gave me mints, cologne. There was some gratuities given. I gave some tips. At the end of it, it was quite the experience. And if you're thinking it in your brain what it looks like, it's twice as crazy as it
So
sounds.
Oliver, let me fill in the blanks of what he didn't tell you. First of all, there was also caught on camera a guy in the background taking a piss in a urinal.
Fantastic.
The bathroom attendants just were trying to get on camera. They were all excited. Someone, I think they said, "I love you" into the camera, and I was kind of like, "Hi, I love you too." He did tip. He was only going to tip like $5, and then I called him out live on the show. I said, "Don't be cheap. Throw a few more in there." So I helped push him along a little bit. I had to help with the bathroom attendant. I had to make their night. But yeah, no, that was definitely an interesting one. And I'd like to replicate that if we can. That would be cool. He's had some interesting ones. It was also one he did from a hotel bathroom, a public hotel bathroom, where he had the laptop live on the show. He put the laptop on the toilet facing the sink so he could do the soap review from a bathroom in a hotel. So he gets it done. I'll give him credit. When there's a soap review to be done, he gets it. He gets it for whatever he has to do.
Look, when you commit, you commit.
Yeah, he doesn't quit on me. He's a trooper.
I'll never give up on you, Jack.
No soap review tonight, but next week, stay tuned because there's going to be probably
no soap review tonight.
I saw
the episode with Eric from Hammer and Sickle.
I
know he took a tour into the bathroom of the main estate.
No, we were in. It was last week, right? We were in Miami last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
no, with Eric.
Where was it? Was Eric? Oh, you're right. I was in Maine.
That was 2 weeks
we
ago.
Went through the house.
Yeah,
two weeks ago.
Yeah.
Did I miss last week?
No, last week was Leo. You were on.
Oh yeah.
The days just start to bleed together. I know. It's okay.
Right.
Man, I've been doing. Here's the thing. It's crazy because I don't know how it's been for you, Oliver, but I've never been busier in my entire existence in the premium cigar business. Obviously, we're running with a smaller sales team as usual, but early on, you've been a guest on Hacking Gourmet, I think, when it was quarantine grilling, and so
made some pork belly tacos. Absolutely, I remember.
It was great, and we almost had you on as a guest the very next week too, because we dialed you in. But so we started those programs to get some of these virtual events going and try to develop some real live broadcasts that could happen in person, which has been born with the Gourmet Smoke Sessions, which we've got one coming up this Saturday. But those sessions have turned into now everything's a production. So this charity event we're doing, it's in person. Now we have to have a virtual component too, because you got to have virtual components to everything. It's going to continue going on, and we don't have a marketing department. And I'm sure it's the same way with you. Like, there's no marketing department. We do the art stuff in house. Between myself and Tony. So every time we do an event, it's got to be specially done. It's got to have special branding. So there's a huge process that goes into it, and I'm planning months ahead of time. So it's constant, nonstop planning and nonstop computer work, nonstop, strategic work with how we're going to execute it. I mean, the logistics have to be right where I broadcast. Like right now, I've been not arguing, but I've been working with for a week and a half with the retailer I have going on Saturday to make sure their Wi-Fi's fast outside. So I've gone 4 straight days. The Wi-Fi hasn't been updated yet. So it's just nonstop stuff. So I haven't been more busy. And then when I come down here to Miami, it gets out of control. And literally every day does actually run into each other now for me.
Yeah,
crazy.
For you, you're definitely wearing a lot of hats too.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, right.
Both literally and figuratively.
What else we got for news? I didn't hijack the news segment.
No, it's okay.
News. I mean, that was real news this week.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was very fitting. I figured, obviously I'd throw that out there and kind of let you run with it since it's your, company to speak on. Another one we have, the PCA has laid off 2 people, 2 staff members from the Premium Cigar Association. They've already had this, as a lot of organizations and companies this year have. I remember it was earlier this year that we had talked about they had almost downsized completely, temporarily there, just at the original peak of the pandemic. So you can see that they're still trying to keep a balance over there. The other one is an interesting one. This one's a little political, so depending on what your take is, but I'm just going to read it off from the middle here. And this one's going to be, as announced on halfwheel.com, Biden picks Xavier Becerra, I think I said that right, to head the HSS for his, which is the head of Health and Services, which oversees like the FDA and all that. So this is going to be the person who will be involved in, a lot of the regulations and stuff we talk about, with tobacco and specifically the premium cigar business. So, I actually don't know much about him myself, but, as these things go, one side of the table is a little bit more friendlier to tobacco than the other side of the table. So, John, I don't know, or Oliver, you can jump in here too. But John, I know that you probably have something to say on this.
It's going to be awful, man. There's a couple of reasons it's going to be awful. One, this has nothing to do with whether you like the current president or not. One of the platforms of the current administration was they were anti-regulation. They wanted regulations to go away. One of the platforms of the new administration that's coming in is they like regulations. That's just a part of it. They like to regulate things because they think it makes things better. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Like menu labeling was a good regulation. We now know it's in food. That went kicking and screaming. But the majority of their projects when it comes to the FDA have not been incredibly beneficial because it's the little extra projects that they do that are problems. So you get the menu labeling, and then now there's just too much sugar in food. Now there's too much this, there's too much that. Well, it was about letting you know what was in it so you can make an educated decision. And that's the same way I look at it with cigars. We've already regulated, so now we know what's in it. Now we get to make a better, more educated decision. And the FDA in the past, when you have a heavier leaning administration that likes to now want to use that information to help you make your decision rather than allowing you to make it on your own. That's the direction we're headed. Now, that's one of the main reasons that it's awful. Second reason it's awful, he comes from the state of California. He's been in government in California for a long time. If anyone's familiar, politics sheerly aside, partisan politics aside, the state of California is a political and economic disaster. It's the largest populated state in the country. It has the most wealth, and they have a massive debt. They have endless regulations. They have endless taxes, and all it is causing more and more issues. And COVID is going to show you how terrible California is, because the people that have the means to leave California are all
leaving.
leave. And the ones that are staying are all on the take. They're all getting something because of what's going on in the state, and when that goes away, they'll eventually go away too, and then it'll have to reset itself. But this guy's never been successful at running a state, let alone telling us how to run a federal government or a government agency, which is going to dictate things on a national scale. So in my opinion, it's very scary. I'm sure there's people that can sit there and argue with it. There's Google people that can go and Google all these facts and be keyboard warriors online and how it's excellent. Those people exist in our industry too, which is fine. They have the right to do that. But this guy's not going to be good. This is not a good situation. Fortunately, the one thing that is positive in my eyes is that we are actually already regulated, so they can't go and create a bunch of already new rules to dictate this. They're going to have to work with the set of rules that are already there, which we kind of know how to play with a little bit. But to think that this is going to be a positive situation and a positive appointment is a really naive way to look at it. And by the way, if it is great, perfect. I'd love to be wrong.
And that is the unofficial Carneonomics segment brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. As Dan Thompson. Dan, if you're watching,
well done.
We can, you want another segment. Carneonomics it's still there. I mean, LFD hasn't scooped it up, so jump in there, grab that. It's he's commenting along, so Dan is watching. So I don't know, it could be official soon. So that's our news segment for the week. I want to kind of cut it there because I want to get back to Oliver. As I look at our clock here, I definitely want to get to a couple more things. So let's kind of go back to the Atabey and Byron really quickly.
Well, let's touch on Byron quick, because if you want some news, it's going to. I know you're on our media release, press release email, but in the coming weeks, we have a few things coming out, but one that is. One that has been put out there already, but the press release hasn't been done because we weren't sure about the date yet, is that the Casa de Monte Cristo in Countryside, Illinois, they have another store in Schaumburg that is officially branded, and the sign has gone up. That is the Byron Cigar Lounge in Schaumburg, Illinois. So we're extremely excited for that. That should open. I just talked to Sam today, Sam Khalil, who is is one of the owners. Gave me a full little run through, did a little FaceTime, so he showed everything that was going up. Expected to open up next week, so he'll do a soft opening then, and then we'll plan on a grand opening sometime in. Well, we said January, February. What we'd like to do is have the travel restrictions kind of ease up a little bit, so that we can bring Nelson Alfonso out from Spain, who's been stuck there for the entire year.
Definitely.
So it's
exciting.
interesting. You mentioned Byron. So I had something really unique a week and a half ago. I smoked I believe it's the 25th anniversary for Cigars on the Avenue. And I smoked the Byron. Yes. And I smoked the Byron, and I think you know where I'm going with this. I've smoked a lot of cigars. I have never smoked a cigar that had the natural, distinct flavor that one had. It was not infused. It didn't taste like it was infused. But that cigar tasted like the skin of a freaking blueberry on the finish. And it was ridiculously good. I've never had that experience with a cigar before. And it wasn't recommended to me because I said, hey, I want to try one of the 25ths. And I talked to Don Patel, who owns the store, and he
great.
he goes, do you want the Atabey or the Byron? And I said, And he had kind of that look in his eye that he gets sometimes when he's got something he wants to tell you, but he's not telling you. And he's like, he goes, you should try the Byron. He goes, you've probably never had anything like that before. And I was like, okay. So I start smoking it. And I was like, Don, I was like maybe like 10 minutes in. I go, man, the finish on this is like the same finish I get when I eat blueberries. Not the sweet side of it, the tannins. It was incredible. I mean, I was like, have you ever smoked anything? He's like, no, I tested the blends. He goes, and then he goes in the aging that it went through. He goes at the aging after. He goes, I've smoked it. I guess he smoked it over a year ago, and whatever. It was awesome. It was a really great cigar, and I'm gonna pick some more up because I've never had that experience with a cigar before. It really knocked my socks off.
Yeah. So when you started on that, I bit my tongue. My face lit up. I guess you saw it because I smoked it for the first time after, smoking the Distinguido with a dark wrapper before, when we first started talking about this about 2 years ago. And then I smoked it when I went down just about a month ago. And it's a line I represent. So it's easy for me to say it's phenomenal. It's great. I love hearing you say it. It was so unique, so different. It had that blueberry, exact blueberry profile without being sweet, flavored, synthetic. Yeah. It was just a natural sweetness. And what I'm learning with the Byron lines is that, first of all, Atabey, Byron, and Bandolero, which I'm smoking right now, they all use, I don't know how I have portrait mode on my camera. I don't know how that started. But anyway, so they all use Ecuadorian wrapper, but they're all different shades. Atabey is a natural shade-grown wrapper, so it's very delicate, very thin, very light in color. Byron ranges, and there are some lines some vitolas in the Byron line that have this dark wrapper that have this distinct blueberry nose to them, and when you light them up, it's unbelievable. Some people might say, oh, I don't like blueberry. You have to experience it. And when I smoked it with Don, for those who don't know, Cigars on the Ave in Winter Park, Florida, it's their 25th anniversary this year. Don Patel has been in business down there. Phenomenal guy, great shop. You have to go check it out. We were honored to do his 25th anniversary production of the Byron Distinguidos in a 10-count humidor for him. And this Distinguidos, which was originally a mistake in the Byron line because it had a dark wrapper, and in the 21st century that Vitola is in, it has a light wrapper. But this one came out with a dark wrapper, so Nelson put it aside originally. Then he brought it out in a 10-count box. It started doing very well received. People wanted it more, so we have a 25-count box in the Distinguidos. This particular Distinguidos was set aside for Dawn 2 years ago with a darker wrapper, and when we had discussed it, we had smoked the Distinguidos. I loved it, but I hadn't smoked this one. And like I said, when I went there about a month ago, I sat down and smoked it with him, and I said, "This is unbelievable." So if anybody is, whoever is listening, call Cigars on the Ave and get this commemorative box. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, you'll literally never smoke anything like it ever again. I mean, it is a cigar. I always ask people, like, cigars for me are always about the moment, right? It's always about the moment you're in. It's not just about the cigar. The best cigars, that for me was literally about the cigar. Like, I will always remember smoking that cigar, and I'll remember where I was when I smoked it because of the cigar. Right. It was so unique.
And who you were with.
Yep. Well said.
He's a great guy.
Well said. I actually haven't had it myself, but last week we were talking about, you coming on this week, and he was like, oh, by the way, let me just tell you, I have something we have to talk to Oliver about. And I was like, oh, and I just saw the excitement on John's face. I'm like, oh, he's got something good here.
It's like lights out.
Yeah, so there's
lights out.
There's something that happens in the production and the aging of the cigars. So again, if we go back to Nelson Alfonso producing Bandolero, Byron, and Atabey, when the cigars are rolled, the tobacco's already aged 5 to 7 years. Rolls of cigars, but then the cigars are laid to rest in a humidor, a cedar-lined room, from ceiling to floor. 5 different cedars. He uses a Cuban cedar, a Mexican cedar, Spanish, Lebanese, Brazilian cedar. They all play a different role. He sands them down about twice a year to give it a fresh layer. But when he brings humidity down in the humidor, that's meant to kind of push out any other impurities in the cigars, because the cigars will shrink. So he brings humidity down to 40%, then he brings it back up to 70, then back down to 40 over the course of these years that the cigars are aging. So the cigar is shrinking and then breathing in all those different cedar notes. And what I'm learning is that the dark wrapper on the Byron takes on this life that is so unique. You can see it in the 21st century. There have been some Grand Poemas that have come out with a little darker wrapper. They've had a little bit of that sweetness. The Apique Poem in the 19th century, also very limited in production, phenomenal. Dark wrapper, 4 years age on that one, has that same blueberry nose. And then the Distinguidos in the 21st century. They all have this uniqueness. So there's something in that aging that just makes it incredibly unique.
The Grand Poema is my personal favorite. I love that cigar. I remember, I'll never forget the first time I had it. It blew me away, and then when the opportunity came about for me to acquire a whole box of them, I jumped on it. And I still have the box, and I smoke those on special occasions because, you know, people who know me and, you know, John, I'm sure, you know, we all have, you know, just massive collection of cigars. I mean, this is what we do. But, you know, there's the cigars I smoke every day. There's the cigars I save, you know, for the weekend, the better stuff. Then there's cigars that I save for specific moments. And the Grand Poema, that's a good cigar. And it's not just because of, like, its price point or whatever. It's a cigar that's deserving of special moments. I use that cigar for the best moments. That's the cigar I go to because I just love it so much. You know, my birthday is this weekend. I'm not one to, like, really make a big deal of my birthday, but, like, as an example, but I will. It's on Friday. Don't forget. All right. I'll be looking for the comments on my wall on Facebook.
Right.
But no, but like for example, like my birthday cigar, like a Grand Poema, easy. That's you know, a lot of people go, oh, you like, you know, like, and like an Opus or an Atabey or an Andalusian Bull. No, it's Byron Grand Poema. That would be like my cigar, and I think it's phenomenal. The age that's on it, the quality, the flavor, just such a job well done. And one of the things, and since we're on the topic, so on the Grand Poema, the Elegantes, and the Habanero, those boxes, while humidors themselves,
Correct.
the hygrometer, beautiful boxes. Inside, if you've never actually seen the box, you've never actually opened a box. So, and I should have brought, I have them, I have a couple of them up in the house. I should have brought them, but you open that box, the cigars are actually suspended in a cedar crate within the box that kind of floats in the middle. And if you pull that out, in the bottom, there is cedar shavings. Right. Now, I kind of know about this, but why don't you explain what is the significance of the sawdust in the bottom of the box?
So, as I alluded to earlier, with the humidors that are lined with cedar, when he shaves it down to give it that fresh later, he has all those shavings. So he wants the cigars to continue to absorb and breathe in those cedar notes. So he'll take those shavings and he'll sprinkle them in the box, just to give it a little more cedar during transit, while it's in the retail stores, or while for you, while it's in your humidor. He just wants that to continue. Cedar is one of the most, when it's done right, is one of the most important elements of aging a cigar.
That's just another thing that, when you look at, so for those who don't know, Nelson has been in the industry a long time, and Oliver, you could probably touch on his story and his history a little bit better than I can. But he's been around, specifically with packaging. He's done the packaging designs for some very notable brands. But one of the things I've learned about him since getting to know him and his products and kind of what he does, he pays attention to every detail. I mean, it's not just the cigars. As phenomenal as these cigars are, let's talk about the boxes they come in. If you've never seen them, beautiful boxes. And as I said before, with the humidors that they come in, just the design elements, the fact that he puts that cedar in there So that way, it's like he really thinks of every step. Like, okay, so they're gonna leave the humidor room, be boxed, and they're gonna leave. So how can I kind of emulate this experience after they leave here? Oh, let's build like a micro environment within the humidor so that they stay in that condition all the way out.
Right.
I mean, it's genius.
Yeah, and you talked about the tray. I mean, people have to see it to understand it. It's a crate. It's basically a crate. So inside of that humidor, so you talked about the Gran Poema, the Habanero in the 20th century, and the Elegante in the 21st century. There are 3 different centuries for Byron, which I'll get to as well. But there's a crate inside of the humidor, so the cigars are elevated a little bit. There are different vents throughout that
Slots.
crate. Yeah, slots, so that it will absorb the cedar. But even on the back of that crate, there's the embossed, burnt in logo of Byron, which is unnecessary. But his attention to detail is second to none. I mean, he just does everything so well. But it just makes the brand that much more luxurious.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate it more. And those 3 sizes are limited to 200 boxes. They're numbered on the humidors themselves. They're limited to 3 humidors or 200 humidors per line. So if you get your hands on them, hold on to that vintage, and then even try the vintages, because the Gran Poema, they all taste a little bit different every year because the crops change, right? But he just kind of tweaks it every now and again. So some people have, I know there were a couple people that were seeking the 2014 vintage because they said it tasted differently, but then, then the next vintage came out and they liked that one better. So they're searching for them. So it's kind of a fun little project for sure. And I talked about Byron. So
go ahead.
And also for those that don't know, Byron was Nelson Alfonso's family's line in the 1800s, and it was named after Lord Byron, who was an English poet. So in 1850, they named it after Lord Byron. The brand was a Cuban brand. It was sold in the U.S. and Europe, and then the brand went away. It was a small company. They were bought out. So way back then, there were thousands of Cuban brands, but then it was all consolidated down to, I think we're at 28 Cuban brands now. So they were bought, and Nelson was able to pick the brand back up in the early mid 1990s and started reblending the cigar based on what he thought the blend would be like back then. So he blended the 19th century. Then you have the 19th century has a little bit of Peruvian and a little bit of Nicaraguan. So that 19th century is going to have a little more spice, and that's going to be the fuller bodied century. And Ecuadorian wrapper. And those are aged anywhere from 3 to 5 years, but it's noted on the secondary band that's on there. Then when you go into the 20th century, that's got Dominican, Peruvian, Nelson's blend of tobacco in there, Ecuadorian wrapper. And those are aged anywhere from 3 to 5 years, depending on the Vitola. And then when you go into the 21st century, those are all aged post-roll for 4 years. And those use mostly Nelson's blend of tobacco that he doesn't disclose, a little bit of Dominican and Ecuadorian wrapper. And that one uses the same wrapper that's used on Atabey.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think I had this conversation with you a little while back, kind of comparing those to the Atabey, and I remember asking you, I'm like they're both really good. But what would you say kind of differentiates them? And I almost thought, if I remember correctly, you said that the Byrons were just, even though they were similar to the Atabey, they were just a little bit stronger. If I remember that correctly.
On that 20, even though the Byron 21st century uses the Atabey wrapper, it's got a little more body than the Atabey. Yeah. But it's still very smooth. If you like Atabey, then when you go into the Byron line, you'll love the 21st century. And then when you're looking for a little more body, that's where you go into the 19th century or the 20th.
The one of my favorite boxes that I currently have is a Byron, the Byron Aristocrat.
Yeah.
Those are great. It's a long smoke,
Yeah.
but it's a beautiful smoke. So if you want a long smoke and you just, I could settle in with that for a few hours and a good drink. That's a great Saturday night with that cigar. It's one of my favorites. It's so good. It's not too overpowering, but it's just delicious. That's also one of my favorites. I'd probably say it's probably like Grand Poema and then that one. Now in the Atabey line, which is interesting, you have many sizes in the Atabey line. I don't even know the exact total. I haven't counted them all up. How many
12,
sizes?
12 total in Atabey.
You have 12 sizes.
12 different to be told, yeah.
It's interesting. So you have plenty of different options out there, and one of my favorites is actually the Lancero, which I'm smoking tonight. The Spiritus. The Spiritus. One of my absolute favorites. I just picked up a box a few weeks ago. Very delicious cigar, and I feel like the Lancero is one of those sizes that like it's not as common. You don't see a lot of them,
right?
But I'm so glad you guys have one, and it's a great smoke. It's not a major smoke, but it's still an Atabey. It's the Atabey blend, and it's a fun smoke.
Right.
It's a longer smoke, but it doesn't have that thick ring gauge. So if you're looking for something a little on the thinner side, but you want it to go a little while, that Lancero is perfect. It's a little long for a Lancero, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a 7 by 40.
Yeah.
So it's actually funny, the Lancero. So when I started in 2016, we had basically a Robusto Toro, like a Petite Corona, and like a Grand Corona. So we had the Divinos, the Brujos, the Delirios, and the Ritos. So I remember I was traveling through Texas, and there's a retailer out there that loves Lanceros, and I remember I was a Lancero fan, but there are people that will debate and there are about it, and there are retailers that will say they don't sell, we don't want them. It's more of a geek stick. It doesn't sell by the box, but I love a good Lancero. And I remember driving through Texas, and I called Nelson. I said, Atabey would be, I think with this wrapper and this blend, I think it'd be phenomenal as a Lancero. Have you ever thought about, creating a Lancero? And I remember this, with Nelson and his accent and his English, he goes, I have this. I'm like, I'm sorry, you have a Lancero? He goes, of course, yeah, it's aging. I just didn't think in the U.S. market it would work. We didn't want to do anything. I said, can you please send me some? I would love to try it. And I smoked it. I thought it was phenomenal. It's so unique and it's so different because I think you taste more the wrapper. It has more body than larger ring gauged Atabey, and the retrohale is unbelievable on the Spiritus, on that Lancero. So when I smoked it, I said I would love to get this into production. I know we can sell it, and it's a good mover for us. Again, people that love Lanceros will have absolutely loved the Spiritus. So it's been doing very well.
I would say if you're a Lancero fan, definitely try it if you haven't. If you're a retailer who's skeptical on Lanceros, whether you're a United dealer or not, if you're not, you should be, first of all. But if you are a United dealer and you don't carry it, like, I'm serious. Like, you should order some from Oliver. Call him up tomorrow. Have them send you a couple boxes, because I really think that people will be blown away when they actually try it. They're like, "Oh, for a Lancero, this is different." I think it stands alone on Lanceros. To be honest with you, it's just so unique. It's
the balance, construction. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
And I actually have the cellophane in front of me, and I tied a little bit of a knot into it. I don't know if you're gonna be able to pick this up on camera, but just look at the gold. Where's the camera? Here it is.
Yeah.
Just look at that gold on the Atabey cellophane. I feel like it's darker in person than on camera, but you can just see like that age. The cigars, just the rest on them, and they're so refined. And honestly, the wrapper on the Atabey, all of the Byron Atabey, everything that you have, but specifically when you look at that Atabey, that wrapper is one of the best wrappers I've ever seen on any cigar. I mean, and that's looking at like Perdomos, and which are very good, and I'm not discrediting him because I love Perdomo and he's a great guy, but beautiful quality.
Beautiful wrapper, yeah. Yeah. So even funny story on the cellophane. So I remember Nelson was actually, when he was aging them, they were in the cellophane. Then he would remove that cellophane and put on fresh new cellophane. And I told him not to do that because maybe it's the U.S. market. I'm not familiar with the European market, but the U.S. market, we tie them in a knot. We look how dark it is after we purchase a cigar from a retailer. We put it into our humidor, and then we bring it out at a special occasion, or we bring it to, hand one to a friend, or we bring it to the humidor and we say, oh, look, I've been aging this one for 5 years. Look at this, cellophane, or 10 years or whatever. I said, this is something that you must keep on the cigar. It is very unique. People will love it, and it gives credibility to the fact that you've been aging the cigars. So to have that cigar on a shelf for a retailer, and then that cellophane already has the age on it, it shows that cigar has been aged. So now he keeps it on.
There's brands out there that have reputations for being purchased to age yourself before they're really enjoyable. The Atabey and Byron is, you pay the price, but it's a cigar that's worthy of it. It's ready to go out of the box. It's ready to go off the shelf. And not even just ready to go. It's been ready to go. It's more than ready to go. There's so much age. There's so, I mean, you're and then if you age them yourself, I mean, you add a little bit more age to them. I mean, I guess one could argue like, hey, it could only get better. But I mean, it's just right out of the box. It's going to blow your mind. It's not like one of those, you buy a box, you go, all right, it was good. Let me put the rest of the box back and wait another year and see how it turns out. No, you're not going to have that problem with Atabey. I mean, you open the box, your biggest problem you're going to have is trying not to smoke the whole box the first week, because you're going to be like, oh, I just want to keep going.
Right. They're absolutely ready on the when they hit the shelves at the retailer, they're ready to smoke. They've already been aged.
The one of the things that I do a lot of social media, obviously, and there's a common thing out there, and I'm sure you've heard about it, and I'm sure you have a response to it, and I don't know, but somehow it's a discussion that I see between people who have had the Atabey. They like to compare it to a certain blend of cigar or a certain region of cigar. Oftentimes, a lot of people compare them to the Cubans. They have that similar taste profile. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't smoked enough Cubans to really make an impression on that. I know a lot of people have also talked about Christian Aroa's farm with his Honduran tobacco, and the stuff that they do down there with, like, I'm sorry, not Christian Aroa, JRE, his father and his brother's tobacco. A lot of people like compared, like, the Aladino Corojo Reservas has a very Cuban taste to it. What in what way? And I know the blends are like undisclosed or whatever, and you have, but in what way would you say gives it a non-Cuban cigar that distinctive flavor?
I think part of it was, that discussion happens often with Atabey in particular, because Nelson, there might have been some blurred lines originally with Nelson Alfonso. His background when he started in the business was designing packaging for the Cuban brands. Mm-hmm. So in the early 90s, he started doing this. He had his company in Spain. It was a market. It still is to this day. Golden age video design. He would design the packaging for the Cuban brands. When Cohiba was coming out with another extension of their line, and they wanted something better than their Cohiba, they came out with the Bahique, and Nelson did the packaging design for Bahique. When that was brought out and discussed, it was Nelson Alfonso designed Bahique. He has Atabey. Atabey's taste like Bahique's. The fact that he says it's undisclosed, it's just part of his secrecy. his his mystique. I think people started talking about that. We've never said it's it is that or I don't necessarily entertain those those types of conversations, and I say it's just not. What I know is that yes, there's what Nelson calls undisclosed tobacco, but there is in Atabey there's a little bit of Peruvian in there, and from what Nelson tells me, and I agree because I smoke the cigars. Peruvian, he finds that Peruvian tobacco, when used properly, is one of the best tobaccos in the world. So when it's blended right, it offers that little bit of sweetness that you'll find in the Atabey. So those discussions, I mean they happen, but Nelson did the packaging for Bahique, so it's brought up. His family's Cuban. He lives in Cuba. He's part of the he works very closely with the Habanos Festival, so. There are some ties there just in conversations, but not in the cigar.
And I'm not trying to start any rumors or anything like that.
No. It's out there. Yeah.
It's something I see all the time, and I know people always ask the question, and I don't know. It's I don't have anything to do with anybody, but it's an interesting topic that I do see with the Atabey. I just thought it was worth mentioning for those who might be curious at home who seem to have this discussion. For me, as I said, I've smoked Cubans. I have Cubans. I haven't smoked enough to really kind of stumble on that or make any kind of assumption. To me, it's just I find the Atabey is unique to any other cigar. I think it's different than anything else I've ever smoked.
Right.
So,
and there are plenty of brands out there that try to and have depending on opinion and who smokes it that try to say this is very Cuban-esque. That's when you talk about cigars.
That's why
people.
And that's why I mentioned, like the Aladinos. I've heard people make the same comments about Aladino. It's very old, that old Cuban flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think before, Cubans were just, they were phenomenal. There are still some great Cubans, but to lump, one cigar with all Cubans, you can't do that. It's like saying, oh, well, all Nicaraguans or all Dominicans are good cigars. There's quality tobacco, and there are quality Cubans, and there are Cubans that are not so great. So, I think it depends on the smoker and, what you might believe, what you taste.
Yeah, everyone's palate's different. It also comes down to that too. Some people have a certain palate that might pick up on that, but other people don't. Like I said, I haven't picked up on it myself. To me, it tastes different than anything else I've ever smoked. So. Again, I think like you said, it just kind of comes down to whoever's smoking it, and I guess what you're pairing it with too. But as much as I'd love to keep asking you about Atabey and Byron and United, I could do this all day. I always have fun talking to you. We gotta hit one segment before we wrap up the show really quickly, and that's our sports segment brought to you by Nova Cigars. Missed the episode last week. We had Leo from Nova on. That was a great show. That was a lot of fun. If you go to novacigar.com, you can use our discount code SMKTAB15 to save 15% off of your order. Also, both of our friends at McAuliffe and Nova are in our Smokin Tabacco Cigar of the Year poll that's running right now. So head over to SmokinTabacco.com and vote for that. And so in terms of sports, we will get to football. This is John's forte. We always love talking football. But earlier this week, the NHL had announced that the Players Union and the league had come close to, I don't know if it's official, but they've come close to an agreement on kind of their CBA so they can proceed with whatever the next NHL season will be. They're saying that they're trying to shoot for sometime in the middle of January to start the next NHL hockey season, which would be fun because the only thing we have right now is some average football here in New England. I'm sure John would probably disagree, but looking for something else to watch right now. So hockey would be a good one. No real news on baseball yet. Don't really have anything for basketball, unless John, do you have any?
Yeah, basketball starting up. Basketball started up right now.
Yeah,
they're getting ready for camps. The season's going to start in the next week and a half or so. A lot of trades going on. It's NBA's getting ready to roll. They're going to be playing in their actual stadiums. I think you'll see some alterations to the schedule. You'll see something more of a similar to baseball, where a team may go and play the same team for a couple days in a row, or maybe 2 to 3 games. which I think will be really exciting and be fun to watch series basketball.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basketball's right around the corner, but football's got some exciting stuff going on right now. So, first of all, Patriots, I'll touch on it. 6-6. They're probably the best 500 team in football right now. They played a really complete game against a good team last week. The Chargers are good. They're not great, but they're a good team. And they're still a work in progress. The only way to go is up, and they look really good. I'm happy where they're at. I think Cam's a good thing. I think the most exciting thing about that's if they get a chance to get in the playoffs, it'd be exciting to see what they do. If they don't, I think Cam Newton sticks around. He gets a full off season. I mean, it's still there are 12 games of the season, no preseason, and he took most of the last season. He wasn't playing, so it'll be interesting. But the best story in football for me is the NFC East. All right, so the NFC East is just so much fun. There's going to be a team with a losing record that makes it to the playoffs this year. It's going to be awesome. I know it's close right now. We got the Giants and the Washington football team at 5-7, but they all have to play each other. So they all have 3 games essentially to end the season with in that division. So I think the most exciting story in football is football's going to potentially have a losing record team make the playoffs, and it's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that because it's going to be a great story. It's going to be funny. Honestly, I hope whoever wins the NFC East wins the Super Bowl. I would love to have a team with a losing record win the Super Bowl. It would be amazing. And I wouldn't put it past the Giants, but we'll see what happens there. But I think football's got some exciting stuff going on. The league is really, it's bad football because of the way the payment structures work. It's very star heavy, so there's a lot of bad football being played, which isn't great for us, the fans. Hopefully they fix that over the next 5 to 10 years. But there's a lot of cool football going on, man. There's a lot of good games. Teams are losing. Pittsburgh just lost. It's always good when Pittsburgh loses.
Right.
So
Finally,
there's
not
fun stuff going on right now. But I'm all in the NFC East. Obviously, I'm a Cam Newton fan personally, and I think he's doing some good stuff there, and we shouldn't close the book on him right off. But I'm focused fully on the NFC East, man. That for me is like the perfect example of 2020 satire. NFC East is just a joke, man. It's so fun.
Honestly, I think the funniest way that a year such as this could end is, well, let me pull this up in front of me just so that way I don't, hold on. Here we go. So in terms of the NFC East, right, you want to talk about losing record. Go to the standard. So in the NFC, we have the Giants are 5-7, Washington's 5-7, Eagles are 3-8, Cowboys are 3-9. Imagine even that Eagles team, or the Washington team. Imagine that team skating through the rest of this season, and like you said, just on some miracle, the heat gets turned on in the playoffs. That is the team that wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's
by
like,
the way, it's not,
what kind
it's
of a
not
shit show?
It's not that shocking if you think about it, though. Like, if you look at the way the teams put together, they're not a bad team, and they actually have, Alex Smith is the real deal. Like, he's an actual good NFL quarterback.
Right.
He knows how to win games. He's won many more games than he's lost in the NFL. And he's a guy that's kind of hitting his stride right now. So it wouldn't shock me to see Washington actually perform well without a name. And because they got the right pieces, and the main piece is they have a quarterback that knows what he's doing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they're probably going to end up winning the division. And I don't know if I'd want to see a losing record Washington team with Alex Smith at the helm in the playoffs. I mean, that'd be embarrassing, right?
I would say I definitely would rather see Washington over the Giants, and definitely not. I hate the Giants. It still stings. The first time it sucked, but then to do it again, 2 times it stings. So
at what point did the Jets move?
Oh, you know what? That ownership.
Who buys them out?
They ran. The problem with the Jets is they ran the best thing they had going for them out of town like 8 years ago when they moved on from Rex Ryan after he took them to 2 AFC championship games. They beat the Patriots. I mean, they were good defensive teams. They had good offense. They had a team that actually knew how to play football. They had blocking tight ends, which no team in the NFL has anymore, which makes for bad football. That's one of the Patriots' biggest issues. That they have Ryan Izzo as the tight end. The dude's like 6'2", like 240. Like, that's not a big tight end. He doesn't even try to block, let alone if he tried, could he? But there's just not great tight ends. But they ran Rex Ryan out of town, and it's the Jets have never been the same since. They've had a couple good seasons in the last 20 years or so. Bill Parcells was there for a bit with Curtis Martin, Vinny Testaverde. They were pretty good. Wayne Corbett was on the team. And then they were good again when Mark Sanchez was there with Rex Ryan. They were good teams. They were actually good football teams. And they ran them out of town. They sucked. So
they were at least winning.
It's embarrassing. Yeah, it's embarrassing. I mean, they fired the defensive coordinator. Like, he's not the problem. Adam Gase is the problem. And by the way, Adam Gase isn't the problem. The ownership's the problem. They just can't get out of their own way, and they're terrible. They just suck. So something's got to happen there, right? And I think it's going to have to take a culture change from the top down, and the only way to change that's ownership in the NFL, in my opinion.
Right. What are they, 0-11?
Yeah, they're off.
12.
Wow.
0-12. 0-12.
They're not winning a game.
And the only team that's so they have the worst record in the league, followed by the Jaguars, who are 1-11.
And they have one game left that's not in the division. I don't know who they play, but after that they play the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Patriots.
Who, the Jets?
And they're all good teams. So they have to play those division teams again. The Bills are good, the Dolphins are good, and the Patriots are good enough to beat the Jets.
The Jets will go to Seattle. They will go to the Rams, and then they will host the Browns before coming to New England for Week 17. So
they don't have any more division games left.
Well, they play the Patriots.
Except the Patriots. So, hey, you know what? We'll see what happens. I don't think they're winning any games.
No.
Because the Patriots are going to be playing them in a spot where they're going to have to win. I think the Patriots win out the rest of the season. I think they're going to end 10-6. And they're going to embarrass the Jets that last game of the season. It's going to be an absolute beatdown.
Would you say that the Patriots are starting to find their footing now that they've had some time to, you obviously have Cam Newton at the helm, so you're going through that transition of the post-Tom Brady era. They had a COVID shutdown earlier this year. They've had some obstacles, but would you say that they're really starting to find their footing now? And maybe they will heat up, and maybe they will run away with it. Is it too late for the New England Patriots?
No. I don't know what Oliver feels, but I don't think it's too late. I think they got a good team. Cam's an elite player. 3.5 seasons ago, he was literally the best player in the NFL. The defense is helmed at the helm of literally the best defensive player in the league in Stephon Gilmore. So they got elite players all over the place, and they got young guys that got a lot of spirit, and we'll see what happens. They picked up Moncrief. I think he's going to play a bigger role here in the next couple of weeks. He seems to be getting more into the system, so they could make a run. I don't know if they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to finish the season out these last 4 games and go 10-6 and make the playoffs. And if they're going at that speed, I think they could have a shot. They could be good. We'll see what happens.
So
they're
out in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to go in as a second wild card. And they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play like the number 3 team, which would be probably. And they might end up playing the Bills, man. They may end up playing the Bills, which is dangerous in the playoffs to play division rival.
It would be the Bills, because it's Steelers Chiefs are both 11-1, and then Bills 9-3.
Yeah, they'd be playing the Bills.
Browns are 9-3 as well.
The Houston Oilers have a better chance of winning than the Patriots.
So before we wrap up the show, a couple of things. Smokin Tabacco will make some announcements. It will give the floor to Oliver to make anything you want to say, and then as always to John. But before I get to the closing remarks, one thing I want to talk about really quickly, because we are running out of time, is so outside of cigars, Oliver has this reputation. I don't know if anyone knows this. Oliver has this reputation of being not just a cigar aficionado, but a taco aficionado. Oliver, you've
good reputation.
You've made it known that you are a solid taco critic, and from what I've been told from the people who've eaten tacos with you, that you are a taco truck versus like a taco restaurant kind of guy.
Right. It's like saying I was going to say like a burger. It's like saying I love burgers and you talk about McDonald's or you talk about Red Robin. There's a difference. A taco to me is the taco truck because that's family. That's not commercialized. It's not ruined. There's a passion and a love behind it. So give me a 3-inch corn tortilla. I just want some protein on there, and then a little bit of cilantro, a little bit of onion, and I'm good. And it's amazing for how simple it is, how poorly they can be made. But when it's done right, I'll just eat that all day.
And it's funny. So you guys were talking about. So you had made pork belly tacos with John on Hacking Gourmet earlier this year.
Yeah.
That's pork belly. That's interesting. That sounds good.
Yeah. It should be done more often. You have some places that make it. It's a very inexpensive, as you can imagine, very inexpensive cut. Costco's got a 10-pound slab for under $25, and 10 pounds is a lot of pork belly. Yeah. So I'll cut that up, and then I'll freeze the packs up. And on that show, I just put it in the oven on a low heat to kind of get that fat rendered down, because it doesn't come with the skin on it. Now, if you get it with the skin, you cut it up and you get a little bit of crackling, even better. But just to render down that fat, make the pork very tender, and then when I took it out, I just cut it into slices, and then I put that on a cast iron to kind of crisp up the sides, and then I put that into the taco, and you gotta watch your cholesterol after that.
Yeah, that sounds like one hell of a time.
But phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, a couple of ideas. So we're going to have our 1-year anniversary of the Smokin Tabacco Show coming up in April. And as John and I have teased and discussed, it'll be the May Day Eve Massacre 2.0. I think that falls on like a Thursday. We might have to go back to our Thursdays just for that one night, just so that we can have a second go at that May Day Eve Massacre to finally get it right. But also a week after that is you get Cinco de Mayo. I think Oliver should do a tacos especial episode on Hacking Gourmet for Cinco de Mayo. Just throwing it out there. I'm not telling you how to run the show.
What we did last time, so we'll probably do it again.
Right.
So maybe he's pigeonholed into one segment on our
one segment a year.
Anything else? He probably has many other things he likes cooking.
And how demented am I that I love tacos? I do it on Cinco de Mayo, the celebration of really the Mexicans beating the French, and my family's French. So what am I doing? But yeah. I'll
the irony.
Well, it'd actually be really hard to celebrate a holiday where the French actually won, Oliver. So it's better to celebrate the other holidays that way.
Too many unknowns.
Actually, the May Day Eve, the April 30th falls on a Friday. So I don't know. We might have to try and squeeze in a May Day Eve Friday night episode special edition for our 1-year anniversary coming up in a couple months. We'll have to talk about that, John. You've heard it here first. It's a teaser. But as we wrap up the show, Oliver, thank you for joining us. We had a great time.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you had fun. Yeah, you're a busy guy. We appreciate you making the time. It was great. We'll throw the mic to you for any closing comments, anything you want to say. The floor is yours before we wrap up the show.
No, excited. I mean, looking forward to wrapping up the year. We have, like I said, the Byron Lounge opening up. We opened up the Atabey Lounge in Frisco, Texas with industrial cigars. We have a United Lounge opening up here in only about a month. It's going to be more on the Arizona side of things. And repackaging Firecracker as the United Firecracker, tweaking a couple things there. So that should launch first of the year. We have a very special limited edition through the United portfolio for a Firecracker again. That'll come out in January. We have some exciting stuff first of the year that'll be launching. So we have some really exciting stuff. And again, this week, like I said, we have some press releases coming out. You'll be on there. We have another 25th anniversary humidor with a very, very limited. They have the entire production of a dark wrapper Byron that's going inside of that humidor.
Very exciting stuff. Can't wait to see what you have up your sleeve. I know you can only say so much.
Right. Yeah.
I wish I could drag it out of you, but we'll find out.
I got to get the okay on the other side from the retailer, and then so that'll be coming out in the next. I just want to make sure that it's landing because things have been pushed back so much. The the production. Even Don's 25th anniversary humidor, that was pushed back almost 3 months. Bandolero's getting a repackage. That was supposed to drop in the summer, in July, for the PCA. But the Box Factory pushed everything back, so that will be first of the year. Garofalo celebrating 10 years with Perdomo. That's going through a little facelift as well. So there are a lot of things that we had planned for this year, but unfortunately, with as everyone's experienced, there have been some delays.
Well, we look forward to what you got coming out. We look forward to seeing your future releases, and we wish you the best of luck with everything you got going on with United. And as I said before, we appreciate you coming on. Jon, I know we've touched on your special event you guys are coming up next week. Is there anything else you want to announce? We've
got the Lfd Firecrackers Gourmet Smoke Session number 3 on Saturday, the 12th. That'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook Live. It'll be on all the Facebook channels, all of our YouTube channels, so Hacking Gourmet, Lfd Firecrackers, this Facebook page, as well as my personal page. So we'll be streaming that 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That will be at Galliano down here in Coral Gables in Florida. And we're releasing the very anticipated Feliz Navidad Coronado. So that'll be finally available for purchase on Saturday, but 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Hacking Gourmet. Be exciting. Then we've got the event next Wednesday at our friends here in Miami with the Experienced Brokers and the Lfd Firecrackers and the Movember movement. So that'll be on the 16th. That show is actually live at 7 p.m. Our broadcast is actually 7 p.m. So we'll be actually competing against Smokin Tabacco. I apologize.
Ooh, how dare you.
The show will be going live at 7 p.m. So we'll give you a little Smokin Tabacco shout out on the show and encourage people once they donate to Movember movement to jump on over and watch that. But that's what we got going on. So Saturday the 12th and Wednesday the 16th.
So a couple of things I just want to run through on the Smokin Tabacco side. As I mentioned before, Oliver is kind of kicking off a crazy 6 weeks or so that we got going on. We have some extra shows. We got a lot going on. I'm gonna read it off really quickly. Yeah, next week we have Jeff from Corona down in Florida on our regular Wednesday night, and then Friday we have a special episode with Gerard from MardoCigar.com. He's gonna be joining us, and then the very next night on Saturday, the 19th, we have Jose Blanco from Arturo Fuente joining us. Really excited about that. That's gonna be at 4 p.m. Eastern. So all of our shows, even our extra episodes, like our Friday night episode with Gerard, will still be at the same time, same place. The Jose Blanco episode, because Jose actually lives over in Europe and the time change, we're going to do that at 4 p.m. Eastern, so just keep an eye out for that. Last 2 shows of the year, we got our Christmas episode. We have our New Year's Eve episode. That's just going to be the 3 of us. We're really excited about that. Next week is going to be the Smokin Tabacco Christmas Party Week. As we're going to be kind of building up towards. We got 3 shows. We got a lot going on. We have a giveaway to announce. In that giveaway, I've already teased some of the items. There's going to be a box of the Macallan Leander number 1. There may or may not be some LFD cigars. There's going to be a bottle of whiskey that has yet to be announced, and some Smokin Tabacco swag. January, we're going to start off the first week of January. We got William Cooper, Cigar Coops coming on. We got Michael Cappellini from Toscano coming on, and we have Kurt Kendall from 724 the week after that. And ending out January, we have Matt Booth from Room 101 coming on with us. So we have a lot going on, a lot of good shows coming up. Pay attention to that. We do have a new swag store on SmokinTabacco.com. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Adding stuff daily. There's a lot of stuff on there, a lot of cool stuff on there. Check that out. Fun stuff. And lastly, we have a Cigar of the Year voting going on right now on the website. So if you haven't seen that, go on the website, check that out, enter in your votes. That is until Christmas Eve at midnight is when the voting will end. And then we will, on the following episode, we will announce the winner of our Cigar of the Year and kind of what we're going to do about that. So a lot of stuff, kind of more than usual. We have a lot of announcements this week, but it's going to be a crazy month. It's going to be a fun month. So thank you guys for watching with us. Thank you for coming on with us every week, and keep an eye out for all that stuff. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff, but it's fun stuff. So with that, thanks for watching. We will see you next